Hey everybody, if you're looking to learn options trading with real-time alerts, TradeUI is the place to be. I'm going to be covering some of the features here on this options trading platform into 2020. It's going to be doing some updates soon, so I'll be doing another video just similar to this, but I just wanted to cover just the basics of a lot of the terminology and things like that, and I'll cover some of the future features here when they get released. Obviously, we're going to start here pretty simple here. You have the bearish sentiment. That means that overall, they're projecting the market's going to go down from those particular sweeps. You have a rating system. The rating system kind of shows the demand and how likely it is to be a new position. You have the call flow. Call flow is basically bullish. Put flow is bearish. Calls are you're projecting it's going to go up. Puts you're projecting it's going to go down. And you got some other features here on the TradeUI platform. You can switch to different filters here, as you can see, for whatever given date you want. It's going to be extending a little bit further, but right now it's within a week's range. So you could check all the options that happened during that given week right now. You can enter given tickers here that you wanted to follow in particular. You can choose between ETFs and stocks, so if you wanted to just watch SPY, QQQ, things like that, you can sort it out that way. Minimum order is pretty self-explanatory. If you only want to watch sweeps that come in that are rather large, you want to set that minimum order higher than just 0. This does a lot of filtering out for you because although you might see a 10 grand position that looks very appealing, it's not going to necessarily matter too much when you're playing options because that sweep is relatively meaningless. It's too tiny to care significantly. You want to look in the 100K, 200K range that shows more conviction, especially on the shorter term options. Expiration just indicates to you when the given option is going to expire. Sometimes you can get in really short term expirations and notice that people are putting in millions of dollars. Sometimes it's best to go a little bit further out just to get a broader range. You can switch to the minimum, maximum amount of days you want to watch for that expiration. I'd recommend about 20. That gives you a ballpark range as to the kind of sweeps that are more immediate, more conviction. These color sweeps here, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to go into it a little bit because the purple is not so much. Purple is like a mix of bullish and bearish. You got QQQ, which is red, which means that it's more bearish sentiment overall than bullish. And then you have the green, which is more bullish sentiment than bearish. That's pretty much all the color schemes for that. Go down a little bit further here. Timestamp is when the order came in. Ticker is the ticker in particular that order is from. Strike price is the strike that they bought it on. So if they're buying at 265, a bearish strike price, you might think it might go down to that, but not necessarily. It could be a trim, could be a hedge, it could be a lot of things. But the short answer is they bought it on the 265, so that's what the strike is. Expiration point is EXP, basically when they bought that contract for. Obviously, the shorter term expirations decay a lot faster, which means there's more conviction with a larger position on that strike. You got the DTE, which is the days to expiration, pretty much same thing as the expiration date there. You got the spot point, that's when they bought the particular option. You got the position size, that's how much they spent on that option for that option sweep. You have the likely expected move percentage that they're projecting it's going to move between now and that date. You have the rating I explained above, which is kind of the demand on the likelihood that it's a fresh position, and obviously I'll get into that here just in a second, but it's not so much. You have the strength that means that more on the side of the ask than the negative side for the bid there. You got the bought point, which is the bid and the ask. They bought it on the bid, they bought it on the ask. That's basically the spread in between here. You kind of want options more on the ask as long as they're overwhelming the open interest. There's a strategy for that in the description below that I'll link to. I'm also going to link to the TradeUI platform if you guys are finding this video randomly for real-time alerts. You can check that out in the description below as well. You got the price, that's what they paid for it. Contracts is the amount of contracts that they bought. Open interest is basically how many contracts might already be there and or pending, like someone wants to buy them, someone wants to sell them, things like that. It's basically that there's a lot of open interest, whether there's people holding on to those contracts or wanting to sell, and that's pretty much all that is for that end of things. And then there's sweep counts as well that come in here on the little end part here for that menu. But that's about all I wanted to cover for that. There's different pages you can sort from. You can kind of click around and filter this however you want. If you wanted to filter it by a certain strike price, as you can see here, so you could sort of push it up so that you can see the more top tier stocks, like if you wanted to see Tesla and Amazon, things like that. You've got different rows here. You can create more rows if you don't want to go through pages and pages. That's pretty much that. A little counter here on the bottom here to show you kind of live pricing of what's coming in. You have different areas here I'll show you guys. You have a full mode, which is pretty much the same thing that I've been showing you guys here. If you want a more compact mode, like more condensed, less to focus on, pretty straightforward. I'll show you guys here in a second. Just a little bit more squished together. And then, of course, you have the list mode. List mode is the more distinctive one that you're going to notice the difference on. Let me show you guys here. As you can see here, it lists in text the description for the given sweep. So if you don't like those little columns there, you can see it all at once right there front and center. It's very helpful too, depending on how you like to read these sweeps. And you have charting up here. And I'm not sure if I missed anything that I didn't cover in this video, but if you have any questions, you can ask at the Discord link below, and or you can contact me on Discord directly, Freelancepreneur. And I think that's about all that I'm going to cover in this video. Outside of that, option sweeps that you should generally look for. Let me switch back to this here. You want, liquid options. You want conviction points. You want shorter term options. You want options that are essentially overwhelming the open interest, because that shows a sign that it's a fresh position. You don't want let me stretch this out here. You don't want these tickers here that have obscene volume on them. As you can see here, you have 1,959 contracts and 127,569 open interest. So that's likely part of a bigger hedge or a trim. You want more of the ones that are overwhelming the open interest with the amount of fresh contracts that they bought, aka the volume. And you want a big conviction position. The bigger the conviction, the better. Thing with things like SPY, where you can see that there's $1 million in orders. You can see the $3.6 million in orders. That most of them aren't exactly overwhelming the actual open interest here. They're more just scratching it. So you're not necessarily going to see 270 next week. These are the things that you kind of want to generally avoid. You want a more specific sweep. It's nicer to follow the smaller tickers and the tickers outside of SPY and QQQ, because when you see big orders in the million or 2 million point, those are more conviction, considering those tickers don't generally always get that kind of volume and that kind of interest in general. So that's just about what I wanted to cover in this video, and I will see y'all later. Have a nice day. Once again, links in the description below if you have any questions.